There's the president coming off Air Force One in the UK, of course, going to be discussing trade with some business leaders later on today. He'll go to Chequers, visit with Theresa May, go to Windsor Castle eventually for tea with the Queen. First state visit to the UK as president.
Oh, very significant in that let's say the trip on NATO was not as diplomatic as we're used to from presidents. I think that's fair. Not as diplomatic, David?
I think that's a fair statement.
Right?
Yes.
So I think that Will Frost gave a very good idea to him immediately, which is condolences for England, for the football team. And I think you have to play it that way. I think he's got to be more of the apprentice last show.
There's Woody Johnson, by the way, Ambassador Johnson now, welcoming the president. If you missed the presser earlier this morning, the president did say that the NATO alliance remains very strong, said leaders, he says, agreed to boost defense spending substantially.
Well, that's why Raytheon's up today, because that's how you do it. You buy Patriot missiles. That's like it's a Patriot Missile Act. Wow. Remember, 2.2%, that number of 2% that they have to do with the GDP, let's get that straight. That is a guideline. It's kind of like Zool.
Guideline,
you know,
it's by
Zool
2024, but the fact that he went to 4%
more than us, more than we spend, even though we're the world's policemen.
We're by far, right. And just to put it in perspective, our defense budget still, I believe, is the equivalent of the next 9 countries below us combined.
Germany's too low. Germany's too low.
Morgan Stanley's got a note. Morgan Brennan helped us get to it that says to get to 2% from the current 1.5 would require $117 billion in additional defense spending by members.
Look how much.
And they said, by the way, the 4%, they never expect that to happen. That's
no, but look, you got the Joint Strike Fighter, you've got Abrams tanks, and you have Patriot missiles. Those are the 3, okay? And they cost a lot of money. That's what has to be bought. Now you can say, well, what is he, the arms in chief president? But yes, when it comes to, and you're going to see all those stocks go up. Why? Because that's the only way to really placate the president.
By the way, interesting day for the president to be in the UK because today May publishes this 98-page white paper on what is essentially a soft Brexit. The blueprint that in some cases, the banks in some cases would lose their current access to the EU market, but comes after the resignation, of course, of those 2 cabinet members as she tries to put together a coalition on that front before the self-imposed deadline. Wilfred Frost is covering all of this for us today in the UK. Wilfred, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Carl. And just coming to those pictures we've just seen of the president, you mentioned that the main man greeting the president was the ambassador to the UK, Woody Johnson. The other main person there, interestingly, was the International Trade Secretary. Now, that's for 2 reasons. Partly because the Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary are making their way back from NATO themselves, but also because no doubt trade will be on the agenda for this trip. Now, in that outgoing press conference from NATO, of course, the defense spending was mentioned, but the president also said this: I think they like me a lot in the UK. I think they agree with me on immigration. So an optimistic perspective from him. I can assure him that not everybody here agrees with him, and there will be areas of contention, most notably on trade, on tariffs. Prime Minister Theresa May said they were, quote, unjustified. Also, there's concern in the UK about the upcoming Trump-Putin summit, particularly following that attempted murder on British soil of the Skripals. There are also those extraordinary comments from the president, whether today or before he left the US, seemingly supporting some of the Brexiteers, like the former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, who recently resigned. And then finally, the issue of protests, of course, which there will be. We took some pictures this morning of some protests preparing against the president, and it remains to be seen how significant they are. But certainly there is a divided opinion here in the UK ahead of his arrival in London. He's here in the UK. He'll travel now to Winfield House coming up next.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.